I'll ask you about two guys that are somewhat younger. I don't know if you follow Ricky the dog on Twitter. Okay. If you don't, you should, because the guy is spot on pretty much all the time. It's just a dog meme account who knows way too much in the NFL. And we've gone off of him before, and he's been right more than once. Yeah, he's barking, my friend. I got this text today. I don't follow him on Twitter. I don't do any of that. But I got this text from a buddy today that said, another reporter in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You heard anything about this? FYI, this guy usually gets it right. And I said, oh, what is this? And then I realized it's Slick Rick Scoops. That's the guy. The Steelers have inquired about both Jaire Alexander and Jalen Ramsey. I'm expecting the Steelers to acquire one of them. Omar is cooking. Do you believe a dog? And I know you don't know much about him, but I'm going to tell you his track record is impressive. He did say Brandon Ayuk was coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yikes on that one. But most of the time, he's pretty all right. All right. I'll ask you a more important question on this one. If you had to choose between the two with the same circumstances that they're in, what direction would you go if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Jaire Alexander, no question. Doesn't take me much time to decide that either. I think Jalen Ramsey is, incredible. There's no doubting that he is a talent that is unmatched, and at his prime, at his peak, was, you could go up with a ton of the cornerbacks of this era. Jaire Alexander is the right choice for the Steelers right now. He gives them exactly what they need. We talk about, on the other side of the ball, the number 2-3 position at wide receiver. The secondary, the cornerback position is going through the exact same thing. They need someone who can either probably be the number 3, but if things shift, if things change, they need someone who could comfortably be a number 2 and give you reliable production. Jaire Alexander can come in and be a number 3, and I don't think anyone would be worried about him in that role. And if if Slay gets injured, doesn't work out, whatever else happens that we don't anticipate happening and don't want to happen, then Jaire Alexander moves on up, and you feel pretty confident about having JPJ and Alexander on the outside. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's Jaire Alexander. Do you feel any differently?
I would if it was the same compensation. Like if it was Jaire Alexander for $3 million and Jalen Ramsey for $3 million, I'd say Jalen Ramsey all day because he plays the slot. That's the biggest position of need that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. He could play outside, obviously. And right now he'd come in here, replace Beanie Bishop, and be able to provide depth. And that's exactly what the Steelers are looking for. But that's not the case. You're going to trade a 3rd-round pick for Jalen Ramsey, and you're going to have to pay a contract for him. Not what the Steelers are looking to do, nor should they or could they afford to do it. Jaire Alexander, on the other hand, cheap, going to come for nothing. The problem is there are going to be teams who call him, and this is what happens to the Steelers. This is where the Steelers find themselves. If Jaire Alexander did not have a market and was just coming in here to be a team's backup and be cheap and try to work his way into a starting job like Trey White did last year, makes so much sense for Pittsburgh. Go out and get him. You know what I mean? Because at this point, you can't rely on him to start 17 games. He's played 7 the last 2 seasons. Not a guy that you could look at like that. But what you could do is look at Jaire Alexander as a quality backup that you hope is a rotational piece that's pretty much a starter. And that's what you're looking for. But he's not going to be that guy. Some teams going to pay way too much money for Jaire Alexander and bring him in to do way too much. And then we're going to see what happens. If it works out, awesome. If it doesn't, kind of told you so. But I don't think that Jaire Alexander, where we sit here today, is an option for Pittsburgh. Like I'm not calling out the dog Rick here, but I don't feel as if it makes much sense. And while maybe they called, I don't think that necessarily the conversations went anywhere because they understand. They probably called and said, hey, what's the market right now? We'd love to make an offer. Train's coming by. Just wait, guys. And Jaire probably said, or his agent probably said, there's about 4 or 5 other teams that have called. Okay, sounds good. This is fun. Let's move in a different direction. But that's how I view it. I just don't think that realistically he's going to have the market the Steelers need to go out and kind of get him.
Yeah, I think you put hit the nail on the head there. I don't think either Alexander or Ramsey are the most realistic options. I don't think I would not bet on either actually landing in Pittsburgh. That's for sure. But yeah, just in terms of like what would fit best and what would be the best situation for now, I stand by Alexander for sure. But yeah, I mean, I guess I also wouldn't be surprised at all whenever I hear stuff, from the dog or whoever, that the Steelers are inquiring, because I think we get piece of evidence after piece of evidence after piece of proof that Omar Khan is one of the busiest general managers in the
Yes.
NFL. He
Yeah.
inquires and does his due diligence on everybody. So yeah, if someone says he called about a punter, I wouldn't be surprised. The man is active. He keeps tabs on the entire league. That doesn't sound out, that sounds like a bark I could hear.
The bark I could hear. I want you to go check out Ricky's. I'm going to send it to you now. His Twitter account, because he is, dude. He gets some good ones. He was obviously wrong about the Steelers last year, but he does, man. He gets some good. I feel you. I agree with you. All right. With that, that's everything on our agenda.